There are moments when people never say a single word, yet their feelings still become visible. Not through what they say, but through what their body quietly reveals. A short pause before answering, a glance that lasts a little longer than expected, or a small change in posture can all happen before a person even realizes what they are feeling. Most men believe attraction is something obvious, a smile, a compliment, or a direct invitation. But real human behavior is rarely that simple. The body often reacts first, while the mind tries to explain those reactions later. By the time many men realize what was happening, the opportunity has already passed. Imagine two people having a normal conversation. They talk about work, daily life, or simple topics that seem unimportant. On the surface, nothing special is happening. Yet underneath that conversation, the brain is making hundreds of tiny decisions. Where to look? How close to stand? How long to keep eye contact? Whether to turn toward the other person or slightly away. Whether to adjust hair, clothing, or posture without thinking. These actions are not random, but they are also not guaranteed signs of attraction. Human emotions are much more complicated than that. What many people mistake for desire is often a combination of different emotions happening at once. Curiosity, comfort, nervousness, excitement, and social awareness all mix together. The body reflects this emotional mix in real time. For example, when someone feels comfortable around another person, their muscles relax. Their movements become smoother. Their posture opens up, and they stop protecting themselves with crossed arms or stiff movements. But comfort alone does not mean attraction. It simply means the brain does not feel threatened. This is where attraction becomes interesting. Attraction usually begins in a place that looks almost identical to comfort, but carries a different emotional energy. A person starts paying a little more attention than before. They become more aware of someone's presence without even realizing it. Their eyes naturally return to that person during a conversation. Their body makes tiny adjustments, like turning their feet slightly toward them or reacting a little faster when they speak. None of these behaviors prove attraction by themselves. They are only small pieces of a much larger picture. One of the biggest mistakes people make is expecting attraction to appear in dramatic ways. They wait for an obvious smile, a clear compliment, or a direct move. In reality, attraction often starts quietly. It begins with hesitation, increased attention, and subtle curiosity. Many of the strongest signals are almost invisible because they happen automatically rather than intentionally. Eye contact is one of the most misunderstood parts of body language. People often believe someone either looks at you or they don't. But eye contact has many layers. There is the first quick glance, then another look a few seconds later. Sometimes the eyes stay connected just a little longer than necessary before looking away. These small moments can reveal awareness rather than attraction itself. When someone's eyes repeatedly return to the same person, it often means that person's brain has become more important in their attention. Still, this is only one piece of the puzzle. The biggest mistake is assuming that one behavior tells the whole story. A smile can mean attraction, but it can also mean politeness, kindness, nervousness, habit, or even confusion. Looking at someone may simply mean curiosity. This is why no single signal should ever be treated as proof. The real meaning comes from patterns that repeat naturally over time. Sometimes the strongest clue is not what someone does directly toward you, but how they behave when you are nearby. Do they suddenly become more aware of themselves? Do they fix their clothes or adjust their posture more often? Do they become slightly more expressive or pay closer attention to their appearance? Attraction often increases self-awareness before it increases confidence. People begin thinking about how they are being seen, and that creates many small physical adjustments they may never consciously notice. Even then, nothing is guaranteed. Human beings are complex. Someone may show several of these behaviors without feeling romantic attraction at all. Another person may feel very strong attraction while hiding it almost perfectly. Personality, confidence, culture, and past experiences all influence how emotions appear on the outside. That is why simple internet rules like, if she does this, she likes you, are usually misleading. Real human behavior does not follow simple formulas. It follows context, timing, emotions, and individual personality. Most people misread body language because they are searching for confirmation instead of observation. They want proof that supports what they already hope is true. But hope often sees what it wants to see instead of what is actually happening. The best observers slow down. They stop trying to force meaning into every small movement and begin looking for consistent patterns instead. Only then does body language become less confusing and much more honest. As you stop looking for obvious signs, you begin to notice a deeper layer of human behavior. Nothing here is dramatic, yet everything becomes more meaningful. One of the first things you notice is timing. It is not only what someone does that matters, but when they do it. During a simple conversation, small pauses can reveal more than long sentences. A slight delay before answering, a brief silence after hearing something personal, or a voice that suddenly becomes softer may reflect an emotional reaction that words cannot fully hide. Unlike spoken words, timing is difficult to control, which makes it a valuable part of understanding human behavior. When someone feels emotionally neutral, their reactions usually stay steady and predictable. But when emotions become involved, even in a small way, those reactions often change. A person may answer a little faster because they are excited, or a little slower because they are carefully thinking about what to say. They might laugh a second later than expected as their emotions catch up with the conversation. None of these moments prove attraction by themselves, but repeated together they can reveal growing emotional engagement. Another important idea is personal space. People naturally adjust the distance between themselves and others depending on how comfortable they feel. When someone feels uncomfortable, they usually create more space. They lean away, step back, or place objects between themselves and the other person. But when they enjoy someone's company, something much quieter often happens. Instead of suddenly moving closer, they simply stop moving away. They remain present. That willingness to stay nearby often says more than a dramatic step forward. Still, closeness alone should never be mistaken for attraction. People remain close for many reasons, including friendship, politeness, work, or social situations. Once again, context matters more than any individual action. Body language is never about collecting isolated signals. It is about understanding how many behaviors fit together in the same moment. Small physical adjustments also tell an interesting story. People constantly make tiny corrections without realizing it. They fix a sleeve that does not need fixing. They touch their neck for a second. They smooth their hair even though nothing is out of place. They shift their weight from one foot to the other when someone enters the room. These actions are usually meaningless by themselves. However, when they appear more often around one specific person, they may show increased self-awareness. The individual has become more conscious of how they are being seen. This does not automatically mean romantic attraction. Self-awareness can appear for many reasons. Someone may admire another person, respect them, feel nervous around them, or simply want to make a good impression. Attraction is only one possible explanation. That is why reading people should never be about certainty. It is about recognizing probabilities while accepting that human behavior is naturally complex. Another powerful pattern is emotional mirroring. Without realizing it, two people who feel connected often begin matching each other's behavior. Their posture becomes similar. Their speaking speed slowly aligns. They may smile at similar moments or even breathe at a similar rhythm during longer conversations. This unconscious mirroring does not always mean attraction, but it often shows that emotional connection is growing. When attraction is present, mirroring may become stronger because both people begin treating the interaction as more emotionally important. One person may lean forward, and the other naturally does the same. One speaks more softly, and the other lowers their voice without thinking. One becomes excited about a story, and the other becomes more animated as well. These are not planned actions. They happen because the brain naturally tries to create harmony with someone it considers emotionally meaningful. Unfortunately, many people miss these quiet patterns because they expect attraction to be loud and unmistakable. They search for clear proof instead of paying attention to gradual changes. Real attraction usually grows like pressure building beneath the surface. Looking back, the signs may seem obvious, but while they are happening, they are often easy to overlook. Another misunderstood part of attraction is nervous energy. People often imagine that attraction always makes someone relaxed and confident. In reality, the opposite can happen. A person who feels emotionally activated may become less smooth in their behavior. They might fidget more, overthink simple movements, laugh at ordinary jokes, or suddenly become very aware of how they look. Nervousness is not always a sign of discomfort. Sometimes it simply means the brain is paying much more attention than usual. As attention increases, self-awareness increases as well. When people become highly aware of themselves, their behavior often becomes less automatic. Every movement feels more important because they care about the impression they are making. This is why attraction looks completely different from one person to another. One individual becomes quiet and shy. Another becomes talkative and energetic. Personality, confidence, and life experience all shape how attraction appears. That is why no checklist can accurately explain every situation. The only reliable approach is to observe the overall pattern instead of searching for one perfect sign. The biggest mistake people make is trying to find certainty where certainty does not exist. Human behavior is far too complex to be explained by one gesture, one smile, or one moment of eye contact. Instead of asking, "What does this single sign mean?" a better question is, "What pattern is developing over time?" Only after watching someone's behavior across different situations do small actions begin to form a meaningful picture. This is why patience is one of the most valuable skills in understanding people. Most individuals want quick answers. They want simple rules that remove uncertainty. But real relationships are built slowly. Every conversation, every shared experience, and every emotional moment adds another small piece to the puzzle. If you rush to conclusions, you often end up seeing what you hope is true instead of what is actually happening. As you become more observant, you also begin to notice emotional presence. Sometimes two people can stand in the same room, yet one of them is emotionally somewhere else. At other times, someone becomes fully present. Their attention becomes sharper. Their reactions become more personal. Even silence feels different. It is no longer empty. It carries emotional weight. Attraction often changes the quality of attention long before it changes words. Another powerful pattern is return behavior. After looking away, does the person's attention naturally return to you? After a conversation ends, do they find another reason to continue talking? Do they repeatedly reconnect instead of allowing the interaction to end? Returning requires a small internal decision. It shows that the interaction still matters. One return may mean nothing, but repeated returns often reveal growing emotional interest. Context, however, always remains essential. Some people naturally smile at everyone. Others naturally maintain strong eye contact with almost every person they meet. Without comparing someone's behavior toward you with how they behave around others, it is easy to misunderstand their intentions. Attraction is often revealed not by how someone acts in general, but by how differently they behave with one specific person. Human emotions are also full of internal conflict. A person may feel attracted while also feeling uncertain. They may be curious but cautious at the same time. This inner conflict often appears through inconsistent body language. Someone leans closer, then steps back. They hold eye contact, then suddenly look away. They smile warmly before becoming unexpectedly serious. These mixed behaviors do not necessarily show confusion. They simply reflect multiple emotions existing together. The most important lesson is that no individual behavior proves attraction. Eye contact alone is not enough. Smiling is not enough. Physical closeness is not enough. Nervousness is not enough. Mirroring is not enough. Every behavior becomes meaningful only when it fits into a larger emotional pattern. Human behavior works like a complete system rather than a collection of isolated signals. That is why careful observation is more valuable than fast judgment. Instead of collecting signs, observe consistency. Instead of searching for certainty, pay attention to repeated emotional patterns. Over time, those patterns reveal much more than any single gesture ever could. Ironically, once you stop trying to decode every movement, understanding becomes easier. You become calmer during conversations. You stop forcing hidden meanings into ordinary actions. You become more patient, more objective, and often much more accurate. Rather than trying to control the interaction, you simply allow it to develop naturally. Perhaps that is the deepest truth about attraction. It is not a secret code waiting to be solved. It is a gradual process that reveals itself through time, shared experiences, and repeated emotional moments. The more you rush to define it, the more likely you are to misunderstand it. But when you slow down, remain curious, and observe without expectation, you begin to notice patterns that were always there. In the end, the goal is not to become an expert at reading body language. The goal is to become better at understanding people. Real connection comes from patience, awareness, and genuine attention, not from memorizing a list of signs. When you learn to see the whole picture instead of isolated moments, attraction becomes less mysterious and much more human. So ask yourself this: have you ever realized, long after the moment had passed, that someone was trying to show interest, but you completely missed it? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might help someone else notice what they have been overlooking. And if you enjoy exploring psychology, human behavior, and the hidden patterns behind everyday interactions, subscribe for more conversations that help make people a little easier to understand.